What's up, folks? It's episode 13 of the Bibs Corner podcast. 13 is an important number to me. That was my number when I played basketball back in the day, and feels good to be doing these consistently. It feels even better to have people support it. I had a big explosion of listeners a couple episodes ago. Thought it was going to be a fluke, but then y'all came back for me last episode, so thank you again. So back to the topic at hand, though. The Mavs game pretty much went how I expected it to go. I figured we'd compete for a while, and at some point, Rick would do what he does, and the other team would pull away, and that would be that. And that's exactly what happened in this game. It was good to see Luka hit some threes tonight, until it wasn't. More on that later. KP looked amazing when he was getting touches. We'll get into the rest of that later as well. Again, I can't say I'm disappointed, really, because, like I said, the game went pretty much how I expected. The only wrinkle was that Boban got his 5 minutes at the very beginning of the game and then never came back versus, coming in at the end or halfway through the first quarter and getting those 5 minutes. But other than that, yeah, game pretty much went how I expected. KP and Luka both had lots of points. When they got those points and how they got those points, it makes a big difference because that last 6 minutes of the game was hard to watch. It looked like we just stopped playing basketball, stopped being coached, all those things. But, this is going to be a very quick cold open. I'm going to drop the ad here real quick, and then we'll get into the meat of what we did. And shout out to Zubac O'Neal. He was killing it out there. Amazing player. Missed him in the All-Star game, but probably was out for injury. I wasn't paying attention at that time. But, I'm going to drop the ad here, and then I'll be back. All right, we are back here on the 13th episode of the Bibs Corner podcast. I am your host, as always, Mike Bibbins, at Bibs Corner on Twitter for the sports, at MBibs for the socialism, at Bibs Film for the movie reviews. So thank you again for checking in. It's time to get into what happened on the court tonight. We'll start with the little stat rundown that I like to do. So first of all, shout out to Porzingis. Gave us 30 points, 9 boards, 9 for 19 from the field, 9 for 9 from the free throw line, and 3 for 7 from 3. I mean, overall, he did what you wanted him to do. He looked how he was supposed to look. I have no complaints about what Porzingis gave us on the court tonight. Moving on, Luka had a little bit of a less of a Luka game. And it's really hard to say that Luka didn't have a great game when he had 29 points and shot 10 for 21 overall, 6 for 13 from 3, 3 for 6 from the free throw line. Just 3 rebounds tonight after the 20 rebound performance in the previous game, and then just 6 assists tonight as well. They did a really good job of making Luka shoot jump shots and keeping him from being disruptive in his other ways that he usually is. Late game decision making, and this is the part where if I smoked, I would take a long drag of the cigarette. Instead, I'm gonna hit the inhaler real quick. It had been a minute since Luka had one of these games where he just started chucking shots. And I guess it's that veteran leadership that J.J. Barea is providing, where because Luka hit some shots early, just started throwing it up late and hope for the best. I don't know. Mostly disappointed in the fact that 6 free throws. I talked about it on the previous podcast. Luka getting inside, getting to the foul line has to be a huge part of his game. Porzingis did his. He got his 9 free throws. Probably would have had more if he got the ball down the stretch. We'll get into that a little bit deeper a little bit later. But yeah, just 6 free throw attempts for Luka meant that he wasn't being aggressive trying to get inside or wasn't effective when he did. And Luka being a jump shooter is fine from time to time, but it can't be a full game situation. It can't be a down the stretch situation. I'm recording this later than I really had planned to because I ended up watching the Blazers. And down the stretch of that game, yes, the Blazers were hitting threes, but they were also running pick and roll. They were also getting action toward the rim, and we did not do any of that down the stretch of our game. And since Rick Carlisle isn't actively coaching over there, that has to fall on Luka. Unless I can blame Carlisle, I don't know. I feel like that's a cardinal sin out there in these streets. But moving on, I don't want to keep going on that tangent. DFS, I can't say anything negative about DFS on the stat watch. He had 12 points, 8 boards. He was active on the glass again, which we need him to be if we're not going to play people that rebound well naturally. So he was active on the glass. He hit a couple shots. Had a little bit of a tough time on defense a few times, but otherwise the effort was there. Can't really complain too much. Hardaway, quiet, and in a game where we didn't have Seth, DFS ended up actually being our third leading scorer tonight. Hardaway was 3 for 9, 2 for 8 from 3. Just very, very, very invisible in this game, if you ask me. Very quiet. And, of course, the other starter was Boban. He played 5.5 minutes, 2 points, 4 boards. The other starters all played between 35 and 38 minutes. And when you look at the fact that KP, I saw some people that were upset about KP coming out in the fourth quarter. I think he came out with about 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But he was tired at that point. We had done what we were supposed to do when Luka was out and playing through Porzingis, which I've mentioned. Like, this is the time where we feed Porzingis. But it wasn't even necessarily because Luka was out. It was because of the point in the game we were in and the fact that we had to value every possession. I just feel like when you're in that situation, it's best to play inside out. And Porzingis. Oh, and also the other team, the Clippers, didn't have any real bigs on the court that could really bother him. Zubac was out, I believe, as well. So that was just a smart play. But he did have to come out at that point. He was tired. He got a quick breather. He came back in. Didn't get the opportunity to have any impact when he came back in. But again, we'll get into that later. Off the bench, again, Seth was out, so who was going to step up? Who was going to provide a little bit of a scoring punch? I'll give it to Trey Burke. He really made a great effort at it. He had 11 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, 5 for 15 from the field, 0 for 7 from 3. Shout out to JJ Barea again. He was not scared to shoot. He was very active, very aggressive. They just were not going into the basket the way you would like them to. Also off the bench, Maxi, who he also played well for a stretch. Offensively, he was amazing on the defensive end. Really frustrated Kawhi, made him work for every basket that he got. 10 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Shout out to Lou Williams for his donation to the wall. I didn't really think he got the block on that one. I thought he had gotten a block on an earlier drive where he was guarding, I believe, Kawhi. But we're going to go ahead and give Lou Williams the donation credit. We'll give Lou Williams the donation. I believe that is his first contribution to the wall this year. So thanks again to him. I'll be updating the wall watch on the website. Check that out. It was a lot of fun to put together, and I do plan to continue to do that going forward. Who else played off the bench? Delon had 4 points. Won't spend too much time on him. And then Jackson had 5 points and the beautifully blown layup Let's talk about that for a second. That was that was special. He had the ball. He was coming down the lane. I just knew with the amount of energy he had coming down the lane that something bad was going to happen. It didn't feel like he was going hard enough to he was determined to go up and slam it down aggressively or anything like that. I feel like he jumped and then didn't know if he wanted to dunk or lay it up, but didn't have enough lift for whatever reason when you're 6'8", and tried to do some goofy layup and just missed it. It was just the stupidest thing. Anyway, the big key for me in this game, again, besides Maxi, who was guarding two men on several occasions in this game because of when you jack up threes, you get long rebounds, which means the other team gets a head start on their fast break. There were a lot of blown defensive assignments in transition, a lot of blown defensive assignments in the half court. We would have a whole solid possession where we would keep the ball on one side of the court, and while that's happening, the man whose guy is in the far side corner has completely lost him, and now he's shooting a wide open three. We got lucky a few times. Those shots didn't always go down, so I guess that's a positive, but it definitely could have been a lot worse based on how many times we left guys just completely wide open. So first half, it was a good game. Everything was good. Everybody was talking about how great a matchup this was going to be in the playoffs, blah, 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 blah. Third quarter, again, we did not bring Boban back out. I was fine with him not starting the third quarter. I didn't expect that really, but I did expect maybe we throw him in the back half of the quarter. I don't know why I thought that might be a possibility. I was just being hopeful. I'm a dreamer, some people say. But we didn't bring him back out, and with our limited depth at the bigs spot, because if Boban isn't playing, that means the only real bigs we're playing are Porzingis and Maxi. And I have from day one been very clear about the fact that I don't like either one of them having to play the five, especially not just because I don't even know how to break this down because I feel like y'all don't really understand what I'm saying. There were a couple possessions where Maxi tried to guard Zubac in the post, and Zubac just doesn't. Maxi will wall up, but Zubac can easily do a little jump hook over him. That's nothing for him. Also, those guys are not natural rebounders. They both make a great effort. But, for example, Maxi's guarding Kawhi on a lot of those possessions, and if he's your only big on the court, then who's in the paint to get the rebound? Several Clippers is the answer to that question. So it's not a matter of even it being Boban. I just want some type of interior presence on the court to not have Maxi and KP trying to cover the entire court and do the rebounding, or have Luka take the pound. Getting rebounds is not easy or fun. So if you have somebody that's naturally there to do that, it takes a lot of effort and wear and tear off of the other guys. If you have somebody who's a natural banger inside, it takes wear and tear off of the other guys. When they're having to do all of those things, when Maxi's having to rebound, guard Zubac, guard Kawhi Leonard, and post up and hit threes on the other side, it's not a smart way to play basketball. Those guys get tired. I talked already about KP getting gassed in the fourth quarter and having to go to the bench. That's why those things happen. That's why we fall apart at the end of the games, because Luka, KP, Maxi are tired. They are worn down. They're tired. And so some of those things that were easier maybe in the beginning of the game are not as easy late in the game. So just because our bench is shortened, just by throwing Boban in again for another 5 minutes in the second half, you can let Maxi rest, you can let KP rest, whatever the case may be, and then you can use that Maxi-KP lineup as your closing lineup versus having to keep one of them on the court necessarily all the time. Anyway, so the third quarter, Zubac just took over. He finished with 21 points, 15 boards overall. In the fourth quarter, we were still close with 6 minutes left. I believe it was tied. It was like 6-11. It was tied. Luka starts launching threes and playing hero ball. There was no rhythm. There were a few plays where he did, I don't know if it was necessarily a pick and roll, but it was a pick and roll type action, or he did a drive and drew defenders. A couple times he could have dropped it off to Porzingis, but kicked it out to the perimeter. Just a lot of that, no rhythm. It didn't feel like we had any heart. We were just out there. There was no leadership, like nobody taking the ball and stop setting up a play at the top of the key. Nobody trying to get an ISO for anybody down low. It looked like a pickup game. It looked like the pre-bubble games. And Rick Carlisle's not going to take the reins, apparently. Do we have a coach? I'm dead serious. We had, like I said, no leadership. That includes Carlisle. What is the point of having a coach if he's not going to notice when things are going wrong and make adjustments on the fly? I think people have given Carlisle credit for being a master at making adjustments. Where has that gone? I feel like, and I think I said this last time, I don't know, I thought it at the very least. I feel like Carlisle is just kind of phoning it in right now. I've seen some people say maybe he's trying to allow Luka to make mistakes, and I just don't see the point of that. Like, either Luka is a veteran who's won at the highest level in Europe and is ready to really be that guy now and maybe just needs some fine-tuning, or he's a kid. He can't be both. Make a choice. If he's a kid and we're just going to let him go through his lumps and go through the motions, then that's what it has to be. Don't be honest about it. Don't also call him an MVP candidate. I personally think he is an MVP candidate. He's young, he has some flaws, and then a coach needs to be there to guide him in those moments, not just have him out there looking goofy. Have us out there looking goofy. That's not learning. That's stupid. That's frustration. That's what drives a guy to, I don't want to say give in, but that's the type of thing that makes a guy want to leave a city. That's the type of thing that KP went through in New York, where he was the only one trying, or it felt like he was. And the leadership wasn't there for him. So, did I mention? I'm not sure if I brought this up. Please don't let me forget to bring this up. KP had 0 touches after he came back in. So again, dominant, top of the fourth quarter, getting buckets, doing his thing, looking great, and came out for 2 minutes, came back in, 0 touches, 0 attempts to get the ball to him inside, nothing. Matter of fact, don't take my word for it. Let's read the play-by-play. Let's do that. The play-by-play for the last. I'm gonna go from the time where Maxi hit the 3 to tie it up at 101 with 6:41 left in the game. Winning time. This is what happened in winning time. All right. So after Maxi Kleber hits the 3, gets Luka his 6th and final assist. The Clippers come back down the court. Kawhi Leonard step back jumper missed. Ivica Zubac rebound. Ivica Zubac putback layup made. We're gonna skip. There were some substitutions. There was some fouls. All right, then we got our next shot. Luka Doncic 3-point shot missed. Rebound Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard 3-point shot made. Clippers up 106-101. Trey Burke pull-up jump shot missed. Rebound JaMychal Green. Landry Shamet 3-point shot missed. Offensive rebound JaMychal Green. Marcus Morris turnaround jump shot made. Clippers up 108-101. Timeout Dallas. So at this point, things are looking pretty stupid already. The Clippers have scored 2 baskets off of misses and putbacks, and we have taken 3, I believe 3, maybe 2. I don't know. We've taken 3 jump shots and haven't hit any of them, and immediately the Clippers got the rebound and took it the other way. So we get the timeout. Maxi Kleber comes out, replaced by Porzingis, because Maxi has had to play a while, and now he's probably tired, right? So now Maxi, our best defender for Kawhi Leonard, is out with 5 minutes left in the game. Porzingis is in, so we have a little bit of size, and we have our leading scorer on the court. With 5 minutes to go, down 8, still a game. Now it's time to lock in, run some sets, get the ball to KP on the block, make them foul, make things happen, right? Nah, let's not do that. Next play, Dorian Finney-Smith, 3-point shot missed, blocked by JaMychal Green. I believe that one was blocked hard, way out. We got the rebound, went out of bounds, came back, got the ball again. Trey Burke, 3-point shot missed. Rebound, Paul George. Paul George, floating jump shot made, 110-101 Clippers. Dorian Finney-Smith, driving layup made. Oh my God, we went inside. We might have a shot. 110-103 with 3:55 left. Timeout Clippers. So now Dorian Finney-Smith has gone into the paint and made a basket, which the Clippers probably thought wasn't going to happen because we just launched a few shots the previous plays. So now the Clippers hey, they might actually try to play basketball now. We better actually make sure we're defending, right? So they take the timeout. They come back out. JaMychal Green, 3-point shot made, 113-103. Paul George fouled Luka. Luka got 2 free throws. 105-113 with 3:24 left. Finney-Smith went back and fouled Paul George on the next possession. Paul George gets him, 115-105. Now it's Luka time. Luka comes down, 3-point shot made, 108-115. Kawhi Leonard came down, missed the 3. Porzingis got the rebound. Luka, this was 30 seconds later, 3-point shot missed. Rebound, Paul George. Paul George, 3-point shot made, 118-108. Come back down. Trey Burke, 3-point shot missed. Marcus Morris rebound. Kawhi Leonard jump shot made. With 1:43 left, we're down 120-108. Timeout Dallas. All right, we got 1:43 left. We're down 12. Let's run some sets. Get the ball to KP. Try to see if we can make something happen. See if we can get an and one on the block. Trey Burke driving layup missed, and I believe that one was also blatantly ugly. Not even close. Rebound to Green. Marcus Morris made another 3. The game was over at this point, 123-108. Luka came down, launched a 3, 111-123 with a minute left. Marcus Morris came back down, said, nah, we want this 15-point W, hit another 3. Trey Burke came down, missed a 3. I'm sorry, it was blocked by Landry Shamet. And, that's pretty much the game. So, down the stretch, Luka hit 2 miracle threes at the end after we were tied at 101. He got 2 free throws, and we got a Dorian Finney-Smith layup. That was it. That's all we got in the last 6 minutes offensively as far as scoring. 2 chuck threes from Luka, a layup by Dorian Finney-Smith, and 2 free throws by Luka. Porzingis, who was balling in the top half of fourth, 0 touches in that stretch. No attempt for us to try to take control of the game, manage the ball, manage the clock. We launched shots with just Porzingis as the only real big out there. Finney-Smith at the 4, of course. Maxi wasn't on the court because he was tired, because he had to play so much in the second half since we didn't play our only other big. And so he wasn't there to guard Kawhi or Paul George. And we missed threes. They get out in the open floor. That's it. That's the ball game. We missed threes. They get out in the open floor. They swing the ball around. We miss a defensive assignment somewhere. They get an easy shot. Or they missed the shot and we didn't have a rebounder in place, so they got the rebound to put back. That was the end of the game. That was it. So my observation is, if we ever want to win games, if we want to close games, there's no excuse anymore. It's clear that KP has arrived. He's in his zone. He's doing all the things we want him to do. He's hitting from the outside. He's hitting from the mid-range. He's getting to the basket. Down the stretch of games, those last 5 minutes, what we should be doing if we're an intelligent basketball team coached by a Hall of Famer, a legend, championship-winning coach, he will be drawing up plays to get Luka and KP in a 2-man game. He would be running pick and rolls for them with the shooter spreading the floor. He would be making sure Porzingis is getting touches on the block, if it's a post-up, whatever the case may be, depending on the matchup. You play the matchup, but you get KP the ball, man. You get him the ball. He didn't get a single look at the rim. None. There is no excuse for that. He was not locked down. I don't want to hear that. Even a team even a team with a worse. I mean, I watched Kawhi Leonard feed Zubac in the post when he was guarded by nobody. Luka can't give it to KP. Matter of fact, it doesn't even have to be Luka giving it to KP. Let Trey Burke set up the offense, post up Luka, run Luka off a screen, get Luka some action going to the rim, have KP trail for the putback. There's ways you can do it, but get some action going to the rim. Launching 3-point shots, that's not the answer. That's why the Rockets are always in games that come down to the wire. Launching threes is not a way to win basketball games. Come on, man. It's fun the way to play. It's pretty. It'll get you to the fourth quarter usually. But in that fourth quarter, at the end of the game, if we're a winning team, we're feeding KP on the block. When we won the championship in 2011, what was Dirk doing? Mid-range post-ups. Mid-post, back to the basket, turnaround jump shots, or head fakes and going to the rim for the mid-post. He wasn't launching threes. We would get a three here and there, but you get that off of the inside action. Inside out. Okay? That's really not that complicated to me. That's how you take control of the game. That's how you make the defense think and work. That's how you get KP to the free throw line. That's how you get the other team scrambling, tired, by having to guard them. Like those long post-ups KP had before he went out, where guys are having to hedge, or guys are having to drop off of their man to try to give him trouble because the one-on-one matchup can't do anything with him. That's basketball. That's good basketball. That's smart basketball. That's what a Hall of Fame coach would be doing. But I'm done with the rant. I'm gonna drop this off, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna answer some of your questions. This kind of went long. What is up, folks? I am back. Kind of worked up a sweat in that rant there, but thank you all for these questions. There were a lot of good questions, a few bad ones, but it comes with the territory. So let's get right into it. The first question on the docket comes from Dylan Willman. Is MKG playing in the bubble or nah? Or nah is the answer to that. We know damn well. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to keep this clean. We know MKG is not playing. I often forget that he exists, quite honestly. I really don't understand why we signed him. Didn't like to sign him when it happened. But here we are. If I was trying to be optimistic, if I was trying to be someone who sees the good in all, I would have said that the signing made sense if we're going to play small, because there was a stretch in Charlotte where the Hornets were trying to figure out where he best fit, and they would play him at the 4. And he was very active on the offensive glass, kind of like Finney Smith, and he's long enough to cause some of those stretch 4 type guys problems on the defensive end. I don't know if it's just a chemistry thing or what, but I don't understand why we signed him and then brought him to the bubble, and then he sees the court 0 times without any mention of him having fallen apart physically or something. I don't know. It is what it is. I'm not stressing it. The next question comes from the MFFL Hunter, which sounds actually pretty scary now that I think about it. Should we be panicking about THJ? If he opts out, what should be the max the Mavs should be willing to pay to keep him? So I've been up and down about THJ. I for a long time did not even want to consider the idea of him coming back. I expected that he would opt in, and it's still highly likely to happen. But if he does opt out for whatever reason, a lot of people were willing to pay big money for him. I'm not. He just hasn't given us the consistency required of someone that is going to be our third guy. I don't know if he's a good enough player. I still think his best case scenario as a player, pretty much what I said when I scouted him coming out of college, was as a spark plug scorer off the bench. If he got any sort of consistency, he could be your sixth man of the year type of guy. But I don't know if that's, at this point in his career, I'm not sure if that's ever going to be who he is. He's a guy you have to put in and see what he's going to do, and if he's not hitting, then get him on out of there. As far as money, and I don't like talking about free agency, quite honestly. I don't like pretending that I know or have any say or any knowledge about how our front office is going to operate, because last free agency we didn't make any effort to do anything as far as I was aware, besides keep the guy we had. Don't get me off topic here. THJ, I wouldn't want to pay more than $12 million if I was being quite honest. I expect that the Mavs would probably be willing to pay more, but personally, I would probably say 12 mil, or we can just lose you. We can replace what he gives us somewhere. That's just how I feel about that. So let's get to the real questions. So first goes to Reddit Mavericks, the homie. Shout out to what he's doing over at the MFFLs and Hoops and Hefeweizens. First asked, how was my day? My day was it wasn't too bad. I worked in the morning. I struggled to get out of the bed, wipe the crust out of my eyes, and work for the 8:30 to 5. Survived that. I cooked dinner tonight. Pork chops, green beans, potatoes, something simple, but I try to mix it up with the flavorings. I did like a chipotle garlic rub on the chops. That came out pretty nice, and then I had some home style vanilla ice cream with some apple turnover. So that was good. I watched my Mavs lose. I watched Dame Dollar get buckets. Then I hopped on here. So all in all, pretty solid day. Probably could have been a little bit more productive. Probably could have got a workout in if I wanted it to be a better day. But I can't complain. Next, why is Boban not getting these minutes when big man depth is already an issue? Dirk Fan 87. I thought his comment was very eloquent, and I love the way he worded it. Let me get my glasses that I don't wear real quick. Push these up real quick. Dirk Fan 87 said, Boban. Wow. I would have never thought to word it that way, but very deep stuff. And he did follow up later and add a bunch of words for no reason, but that spot in the third where Zubac is wrecking down low, 0 adjustments. I tied that to the Boban comment. And then Edmund the Slayer, also the homie, shout out to him. I was on his podcast a few weeks ago. Check that out. On YouTube, I'll drop the link, or you hit him for the link. And again, it's Edmund the Slayer. Why do you think Zubac and Morris were able to shoot a combined 15 for 17 with ease on the Mavs tonight? And, there's a couple reasons for that. Mostly because the only person on the team that could do anything with Zubac in the paint was probably Boban. You may notice that Zubac did score on Boban a couple times, but those times that I recall, I only recall 2 of those buckets coming against Boban. One was a drive from the top of the key where he outran him. Boban contested it, but he made it or put it in off the glass. And on the other one, he got a bump into Boban and got a little jump hook over him. That was in the beginning of the game. Everybody was fresh and feeling good. And I feel like if you put Boban in that third quarter stretch and you give me those same 2 plays, one of them is a block at least, and Zubac maybe doesn't even try the other one. The times where they literally just threw it down to Zubac and watched him bounce midgets off of him. The times where he got on the offensive glass, or whoever got on the offensive glass and got putbacks, those things probably don't occur. It's just we put ourselves in a position where we have to play one big man in either Maxi or Porzingis, and we're also asking Maxi to guard Kawhi, and that's just not conducive to being able to defend the paint and or rebound. when Maxi's having to do with both jobs. I think I kind of mentioned that earlier. And then, of course, it wears both of them down. We weren't able to finish the game with Maxi and KP because Maxi got tired and had to come out. KP had gotten tired prior to that and had to come out, so we had one or the other on the court. It just makes so much sense to try to mitigate the wear and tear on those guys by putting Boban in for another 5 minutes. It makes our first half lineups work when those guys get to rest a little bit longer or sit a little bit longer without having the stress of having to get back out there and have bodies thrown at them. We don't do it in the second half, and our second halves are where we fall apart usually or blow leads. Those guys get tired. Throw Boban in again, and things are probably a little bit different. There's more on that later with one of the questions we got coming up. I'm not saying Boban is the hero. I'm not saying he needs to come out and put up 10 and 5. I'm saying he could put up 0 and 0 and have a presence and an impact and a positive impact on the game just by giving those guys rest. 1, deterring people from coming into the paint. 2, and then no. Let's do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm doing it. Boban rant time. Y'all are stereotyping Boban. You see a big dude and you make assumptions. You think he's a big, heavy-footed, plotting guy who can't move, who is going to be taken advantage of on mismatches, who's slow getting up the floor, who slows our offense down. Those things just aren't facts. They are not factual. He runs the court, for one. He passes the ball very well. He has a mid-range jump shot. He hit one tonight, I believe. Boban can be many things. Defensively, he's smart when he gets switched. I remember a play in particular, he got ISO'd on Kawhi. I'm not going to say he's Maxi on a switch, but he did enough to keep Kawhi in front of him and make Kawhi shoot over him. And Kawhi shooting over Boban is not the same thing as Kawhi shooting over Tim Hardaway Jr. He's shooting over Tim Hardaway Jr. He's taller than Tim Hardaway Jr. Boban is huge. His hands are almost rim level when he extends. Y'all think that's easy to shoot over? That's what. Have you guys done those drills where your coach comes at you with like a broom or a pylon or whatever and holds it up? Does that not affect your shot, your line of vision? If your hand is at face level, that's a problem for most people. Boban's hand is a full 2-3 feet above Kawhi's head or whoever's head. That's not easy to shoot over. So Boban plays it smart in those situations. Every now and then he'll get beat, but most of those times guys are working really hard to take advantage of that mismatch. They're pulling it out. They're crossing over between the legs. They're head faking into one side and the other. That's work. That's effort versus Kawhi coming down, knowing that there's no big man in there, shooting a mid-range pull-up, missing, Zubac getting the rebound, putting it in like he's playing against toddlers. That's easy points. Okay? So that's one thing. And on the other side of that, I talked about that stretch where Zubac was killing us, where we were shooting threes and they were getting layups or hitting jump shots. The reason they feel comfortable taking those jump shots is because they have guys in position to get those rebounds if they miss. We take those jump shots, we do not have those guys to get rebounds if we miss. That's the difference. If we have a big man, we have Boban on the court in that scenario, they likely play it differently. We're trying to speed it up. They're fine with that because they have guys to clean the glass. We have our little midgets running around trying to get rebounds, but it wasn't effective. That's the Boban effect. And it's only Boban. I only bring up Boban because that's the guy we have. If we had another big man, if Willie Cauley-Stein was there, I would say play Willie Cauley-Stein in those minutes. You know? That's just me. That's my observation. Boban is smart. He's not an idiot. He's not easily taken advantage of, like you guys seem to think he is. Moving on. Dominique Leon. What does this team need more? Additional defensive stoppers, a new coach, or just more experience with the same group? That's really tough because I don't know if it's any one of those three things. Just because you gave me those three, I'm gonna say defensive stoppers. I don't. This group, for the most part, a lot of our pieces are fine. We do need additional players, and I think I said it on the last pod. A defensive dog, a defensive traffic director, a middle linebacker is what we need to really solidify that starting group. And then I still think we're missing something off the bench as well. And it's hard for me to say that with Jalen Brunson injured and Powell injured. I do think that with those guys being there changes this conversation to a certain degree, but mainly the thing we're missing is that defensive middle linebacker type. I'm not going to say names. But you did mention the new coach, and Micah W. also just tweeted me, Rick Carlisle, the Peruvian kid, said, is it time for Rick to go? I addressed this somewhat in depth on the last pod. It's hard for me to say that we have to get rid of Rick. However, we do have a solution to that in place. I mentioned earlier it felt like Rick was kind of just phoning it in. I don't see what I want to see from him in a coach. I don't see him tinkering. I don't see him taking Luka aside and having those conversations. If it's time to move on, if we are going to make a move, if we're going to have the conversation about making a move, the only move that makes sense to me is to hand the reins to Jamal Mosley. There's articles and everything else about how, I think Rick Carlisle even made a statement about how he doesn't expect Mosley to be around much longer. Like he's probably next up to get a job somewhere. And I say, why not have that job be Dallas? Why should we lose the top assistant in the league to some other team when our coach is doesn't seem passionate about what's happening on the floor, in my opinion. Again, the championship was 10 years ago. Rick has done some great things in the years since, tinkering with lineups and bringing out a new ragtag team of guys to make noise and cause problems. But it's, I don't know, I feel like there probably is something more fulfilling for him at this stage in his career than bringing up some young guys trying to figure things out who are probably 4 or 5 at least years away from being championship contender types. I won't say contender types. We might be 2-3 years away from that, but we're probably safely 5 years away from being able to be maybe championship type favorites. I feel comfortable saying that. And I don't know, maybe there's a better job out there for Rick. I'm not going to sit here and take the time to figure out what team he can go to that's more ready than us, but I don't know if it feels like the right time to move to a younger coach that can be here for the next 20 years with Luka, because it's probably obviously not going to be Carlisle in 20 years. Okay, moving on. I think this might be one of the ones I was somewhat excited about. Oh no, I got a couple people that asked this. So, oh my Josh said, do you think this game looks different if Seth plays? You mentioned Trey Burke being 0 for 7 with some key open misses down the stretch, and Tim being 2 from 8 from 3, and then Dylan Willman with his second appearance on the questionnaire section. Do the Mavs make it a closer game or win if Curry plays? And I don't feel comfortable saying that Curry was the answer tonight, unless he was going to take the ball out of Luka's hands down the stretch, which I highly doubt. He would have been also standing off in the corner waiting to chuck his three. He wasn't going to be the answer to stopping them from getting putbacks. He wasn't going to clamp up Kawhi or PG. So don't think Seth was the difference here. I still say it was our big man rotation falling apart in the second half, if you ask me. KP did his best, but he's only a human. He got tired. He had to come out, came back in, and I guess Luka didn't know he was there. I don't know. I can't speak for Luka. I definitely can't speak for Carlisle not for designing a set, saying, hey, let's feed KP down the stretch. And again, KP 30 points at that point. Luka had 21. No, he had made the free throws before KP came back in, I think. So he might have had 23. So clearly KP was the hot hand. If anybody was going to be chucking shots at the end, I would have rather him get a look at it. Finally, last question. The homie, Ghostface Drill 1. What is your ideal fourth quarter rotation? Beautiful question. In a perfect world, right now, in a perfect bubble, let me take a sip, actually. In a perfect world, we would have played Boban the second half of the third quarter. Perhaps with Maxi. Perhaps with KP. KP would have come out. Actually, KP would have come out like halfway through the third. And would have come in to start the fourth. Maybe you put Boban in when you take KP out there in the third. So then to start the fourth, you bring in KP. Luka's on the bench. You got Trey Burke. I don't even remember who we have on our team right now. Trey Burke. You can put DeLon in that lineup. I think Maxi should still be in at this point. And so it's Maxi, KP, Trey Burke, DeLon, and I guess I'll suck it up and go with Jackson at that fifth spot. Just to give us a little bit more length amongst our perimeter rotation. So we start the quarter with those guys. At about the 8-minute mark, Luka in, KP out. Maybe you even put Antonius Cleveland in now if Burke and or DeLon are playing like buns. Or Jackson even, because Luka's going to provide a little bit more size there. You run with that lineup with some pick and roll action from Luka and Maxi for another 2-3 minutes. Bring KP back in around 6 or 5 minute mark. Finish the game with KP, Maxi, Luka, whoever's hitting at the time, with Tim Hardaway or Trey, whoever's hitting again as the two wings or as the two other guys. So Luka, KP, Maxi, and then whoever our two hottest shooters are. If you want to throw DFS in there, if he's hit some wide open shots, then fine. I don't even look at him as the defensive stopper anymore. That's Maxi. He's the guy I want on the best wing on the other team. If it's a two guard that's killing us, maybe you can go with DFS there. Or a point guard, maybe it's DeLon. But that's my lineup. It's KP, Luka, defense, whoever's going to be the guy to guard the best player on the other team, and our two hottest shooters is my closing 5-6 minute lineup. Tonight it would have been KP, Maxi, Luka, and DFS would have been in there too because he was one of the two other guys who was actually scoring. And then probably Trey Burke would have been the fifth to close out the game. And that's Maxi guarding Kawhi and going from there. And I would have posted up KP, spread the floor, maybe had Luka cutting or diving, whatever the case may be, or in his spot where he actually hits threes from at a pretty good clip, and everybody else wide. Maxi diving on whenever KP went up for the shot. I want Maxi on the opposite side of the court from where KP is. Because if KP misses and it comes back that way, KP's getting the rebound. If it goes off the other side, Maxi's diving for it. Or DFS, whoever. I don't know if that part was even coherent. But I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you again for your questions. Thank you again for your listens. We are back. Let me check my schedule. We are back Saturday against Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I would not be surprised if Carlisle considered not playing Boban in that game, since the Bucks have stretch bigs. We'll see. We will see. This has been yet another edition of the Bibbs Corner Podcast, episode 13. Lucky number 13. Again, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. This might be the longest one. This might be close to an hour. And I do apologize for that, unless you like them long. If you like them, you know what? That pause. If you like the longer podcast, if you don't like the longer podcast, let me know. I'll find a way to tighten it up. Thanks again for checking in. I appreciate all of you. You have no idea. You're making me believe again. And I just want to... Excuse me. No, I'm just kidding. No tears were shed on the podcast tonight. Now I'm just rambling. I'm signing out. Peace.